Again, you're welcome to our next lesson. The next lesson has to do with fundamentals of ventilation. Fundamentals of ventilation is actually a topic that is from fundamentals of HVAC and R system. Just to remind you what HVAC and R system simply means, it's an acronym for heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration. Now, in that same acronym, you will find ventilation. We are talking about ventilation. Ventilation, many people would agree that humans require ventilation. But also, ventilation is not simply providing vents or air to people. What about the air quality, the quality of the air that we breathe? It has to be the right amount, it has to be the right quality so that we can survive. That is why this topic is very essential because many industries also require ventilation. Humans require ventilation to survive. Food production companies, medical companies, even aviation companies require the right amount of air to ensure that either the occupants have comfort, the production processes are well maintained, and then the safety of humans and products are well carried out. Now, but let us start off by saying what ventilation is. Ventilation is the mechanism by which clean air is provided to a space. Take note, clean air and also the quality of the air matters. It is essential that the right amount of ventilation is provided. Why? Because in today's world, so many air has been polluted. There are many things that could serve as pollutants in the air that we breathe. As a consequence of these pollutants, many people fall ill. And so ventilation comes in play because we must be able to provide the right amount of ventilation to provide safety for the lives of humans. Now, it is a domain set by the interaction of ventilation with energy and indoor air quality that is motivated with the research coming up recently to ensure that cleaner air is being given. Now, if you take note too, there are so many things that causes pollution, either from the automobile industry, from refrigeration processes, human activities, gas flaring. It is making or causing discomfort to humans. And that is why ventilation is a basic requirement for a lot of industries around us now. To assist in the purpose of ventilation, humans have gone ahead to construct or manufacture various devices that will aid ventilation. We even have ventilators in the medical industry that help to ensure humans survive different kinds of sicknesses. And apart from in the medical industry, we have other industries that make use of ventilation to assist in cooling a place. So, what am I saying in essence? Ventilation, apart from the air conditioning processes, ventilation has to do with providing the right amount of air with the right quality, the right flow, and the right amount. Ventilation is important because it can aid the health of the occupants. Now, what are the main sources of pollution inside the house? It could be mold. Pollution can be caused by mites and debris. Pollution can be caused by smoke. Pollution can be caused by a lot of things from occupants. Viruses can even cause pollution. And so we need ventilation. What kind of ventilation are available at our disposal? There are actually two types of ventilation. It could be natural ventilation or mechanical ventilation. As the name implies, natural ventilation has to do with the natural air that God has given mankind. But the process of supplying and removing air through an indoor space by natural processes is actually called the natural ventilation. And there are two types of natural ventilation. It could either be wind-driven or stack ventilation. Now, what do we mean by wind-driven ventilation? This form of natural ventilation depends on two factors: availability of wind and wind direction. Of course, you agree with me that if there are no wind, then there's no way you can provide ventilation. So these two main factors are responsible for us when we are using the wind-driven mechanism or the natural ventilation. Wind causes positive pressure on windward side and negative pressure on leeward side of building. And you can even see the importance of considering natural ventilation. Many buildings around us, each time they are being constructed, you find people saying, there's heat, there's no ventilation. Why? Because many of these buildings are constructed without putting the appropriate ventilation processes on this building. And that is why you may not find either cross ventilation or the right amount of flow of air. And this may lead to different ailments, like medical results have actually shown. So, wind-driven ventilation actually relies on two things: wind availability and wind direction. And this is effective for bigger and larger rooms, and also these rooms that have a very high space or high height, especially industrial rooms. These methods can be applied. And then what is stack ventilation? Stack ventilation is air movement when it is created to cool the space that is around there. So in essence, we are saying air movement is created by cool air being drawn to space low down to replace warmer air. We know the principle of warm air. Warm air are also light, they are very light. So warm air travels upwards, while cool air travels downwards. So stack ventilation does with this principle. It actually sucks in cold air and then allows the air to circulate in the building, while the warmer air will go upward and then they will be allowed to escape. So to obtain cooling, incoming air must be cooler than the internal air. And this can also be known as the chimney effect, because warm air travels upwards and colder air travels downwards. Now that is with the natural ventilation. Now what are the advantages of natural ventilation? We have no capital cost for advantages, low maintenance, or if at all there is any maintenance. It also saves a lot of time, a lot of space, and then it is easily maintained. But it doesn't come without disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages include the quality of air depends on the internal air. The quality of air depends on the external air. Since the air is coming from the natural environment, if the external air is not clean, then the internal air may likely not to be clean. And then there's little control over pollutants, because these pollutants are actually outside. Noise and the humidity level may be very hard to control. And then it also depends on the building and the building construction design. And also it depends on the pressure of the external wind. These are the advantages and disadvantages of the natural ventilation. Now let's talk about the mechanical type of ventilation. The mechanical type of ventilation has to do with mechanical devices, and these devices come in various forms. Like we said before, the natural ventilation relies heavily on the external air, whereas the mechanical ventilation is a type of ventilation that actually is created mechanically by different devices. These devices could be fans, it could be from diffusers, it could be from blowers, it could be from sources that actually are used to create movement to ensure that these fans actually provide the necessary amount of cooling. So some might choose to go for natural ventilation, while some may decide to go for the mechanical ventilation. The mechanical ventilation is actually well explained on the note that you can have access to. This note actually explains everything about the mechanical ventilation. You have drawings, you have different types of mechanical ventilation, and how we can actually achieve mechanical ventilation based on construction, design, availability, cost. So many factors go into the kind of mechanical ventilation you will choose. Many industries rely on mechanical ventilation. Even though it's expensive, it is useful and very efficient for gigantic buildings, skyscrapers, bigger hotels, bigger industries. Of course, these ones cannot rely on natural ventilation. They need to go for mechanical ventilation. Like I earlier mentioned, mechanical ventilation has so many components. It could be fan, it could be blowers, and these fans could be axially operated, centrifugal fans, and there are various types. It could be filters that are required to remove debris from the air. We could also have different types of air filters that are used in the operation of mechanical ventilation. Mechanical ventilation also comes with ductworks, it also comes with diffusers, it also comes with piping solutions, joints, these are all included in mechanical ventilation. They are only there to achieve one purpose: to provide quality air at the right amount and to save energy and cost. At this point, I want to refer you to the notes that you have. Enjoy reading the notes and see you next time.